Hello, everybody. This is Religious Fanboy here again. Um, Something that I wanted to talk about today, and today we're going to talk about guilt, grace, and repentance, as well as the kings of Israel. The first king, Saul, went at the start of Samuel. People at that time in Israel, people were like, "Oh, we need a big, impressive king to lead us into battle like the other countries have." And other prophets like Samuel, who's also the person that wrote the first and second Samuel, if you didn't know this. But yeah, a lot of the books that took place and were from the point of view of the prophets were probably written by said prophet. Um, Saul, whenever he was held accountable. He would make excuses and be like, "Well, it's just what the people of Israel wanted me to do." And with that, we can talk about the dangers of trying to please everybody. And that's why the Bible talks about that we should rather want to be judged by the world and be with God than be with the world and judged by God and stuff. Like, we should have more fear and respect and love for God than we do for things of the world, because the things of this world will not last forever. And if you are more obsessed with those and you worship these things, the things of flesh, and they're idols to you, then, and choose those over God, then we won't be living forever either. And and like and then the next king was King David, and that was anointed and chosen to be the next king after Saul refused to listen to what God had to say through Samuel. And David did have screwed up a few times. Like, if you know the story of David and Bathsheba, he ended up having an affair with one of his soldiers' women while they were at battle and he was still at home. And then he put him in part of the battle that would guarantee him dying, to cover up that sin. But when Samuel held him accountable, he didn't just ask God for forgiveness, he asked for God to clean his heart and help him to be able to repent of what he had done. And then and he was forgiven, and even though some bad stuff happened as punishment for his sin, that his willingness to repent and his desire for that strong relationship and strong walk with Christ is why King David is still thought of as and why he was talked about in the Bible even after that point as a man after God's own heart. Is because even though he had a moment of weakness with Bathsheba and a few other things, when he was held accountable, he didn't make excuses or shrug it off. He knew that he had done wrong and he had repented from what he had done. And then Solomon, he started out great. And well, actually, it was due to David's trust in the Lord that he said, "This, this is the way I'm coming into this is birth. This is the first time he said which family Jesus would be a descendant of." And if you didn't know this, Moses, which is actually I think they actually start the book of John with it. The heritage of David's family from King David all the way to Moses. And if you didn't know this, if you didn't know that, I think you probably know this one. But oh, it was Joseph. Sorry. We'll talk about Moses in 2 videos from now. That will be fun. Um, but Book of John starts with the family tree, part of a family tree that goes from David to Joseph. Joseph of the New Testament, not Joseph of. But you should understand that because I said Joseph after David. Um, and that's not. I Moses, and something that kind of worried him was when he found out that Mary, even though she was a virgin, was pregnant with baby Jesus. But God and the angels told him to stay with Mary, to be the earthly father to Jesus, and stuff like that. And then going back to King Solomon, he started doing things like God blessed him with wisdom, but he did some not so wise things. He started marrying many women from other countries that didn't worship God, and they started worshiping other false gods like Baal. And Solomon started doing this, not knowing that many decades later, and that Israel would do this and would have kings that did that, and Judah would have kings that would worship false gods, and that's what led to Israel and Judah falling to the Babylonians and Nebuchadnezzar and stuff. That wasn't a good thing though. But just like King David, he was willing to forgive them, and once the children of Israel had repented and he brought them back to Israel. It took lots of time to rebuild, and it was a couple years later, but they were able to return to Israel with time, though. Yep. I think that's all I have to talk about for this video. So may God be with you, and see you next time.